All right, everyone. This is my recap, just highlights from the Sim Racing Expo 2026 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just drove down there from Washington D.C. Took Route 29, 66 to Route 29, pretty much straight down to Greensboro, and then 85 into the city. Took my Tesla, the 6 hour drive, but it ended up being 7 hours because I had to, take breaks along the way. Uh, Charge the Tesla a little bit, get some snacks. Um, you know, so I left about 7:30 in the morning on the Friday of the expo and got there around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And just wanted to shout out the Westin Charlotte, which is where I stayed. Great hotel. I got it for a good rate, and it's right across the street from the convention center. So really happy with my stay there. Um, but with the Sim Racing Expo, it was Saturday, Sunday, no, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I took Friday off, went down, and now I'm gonna say that going down Friday was a good idea. I wish I would left a little bit earlier in the morning, but um, it wasn't as crowded on Friday as it was on Saturday. And in the 4 hours that I was there on Friday, I was able to, get through a lot of the booths, try a lot of the rigs, talk to a number of the people, and in the 5 hours that I was there on Saturday, I was only able to get through a third, of that. So, if you can, I suggest going down on a Friday. So, that aside, I'm just gonna go through a couple pictures that I took, some of the media that I have on this, and hope it's interesting to you. So let me first. Sorry, I couldn't put this onto a slideshow or anything, but um, as I entered the space, just wanted to show some of the folks who were there. So there's a big track racer um, area right when I got in. I spent a lot of time there. Moved and I quickly went to the SimMagic area because I just got these SimMagic um, pedals, and at the same time they were also releasing a new wheel, a new series of Zeus wheels. So sort of wanted to check that out, and then but along the way there were some really interesting things from the Conspit booth, the Vero Motion Podium One area. Got to see the DOF Reality. Try out the Pimax um, VR, and then there's a big Fanatec, area. So that was sort of interesting to to see some of the new podium pedals and a couple of the other things that were there. So let's see where we go from here. So I think one of the interesting things was, Fanatec. I saw that they would release these Hot Wheels branded um, little sim rigs. I think one of them was this stand, this like you know s- seat seat stand. So that was sort of interesting. You could put your pedals down. You could have your wheel here, and then you have a little tray that sort of kept your seat sort of in place, so that you could a budget sim rig. ish thing. So then I think the next one, they had a lot of new rigs out too that they were um, rolling out. All right. So next we have the TR5. Now this is if the TR5 came out, it's still in pre-order. But if it came out before my TRX, I might have gotten this instead. For like about for $600, there's this seat. You can see the here. There's the um, where you can adjust the angle of the seat, so you can have a more Formula One style, a more straight up style. Over here in the front, you can raise up the pedals again to have the different styles, whether it's GT or F1. Pretty rigid, a lot smaller than what I have today. But so for those who are starting out, I think that might be an interesting rig to get. Because I think also the pedals slide forward and backward as well, so this is something to look at. Then we had the TR8 Pro that was there, and they've had this out for a while. Sorry, let me get this so that we can see it. This was I think this was a Conspit wheel. So it was interesting that they had all these different um, rigs out where people you could just drive and try it, get a feel for it. You can see the TR8 Pro here is a little bit bigger than the TR5. Doesn't have an integrated seat. You have to buy, a seat, but that was there in the background. You can see this is a Hot Wheels inspired. You can tell it looks like it's a TR5, but it's orange and it has like this. They did a partnership with Hot Wheels, so it's got some extra paneling and stuff, over there. Let's see. Second here. And if we go back, here is a TR91 XTR, and what it is it's a Porsche. It's a TRX. Looks like it's a TRX, right? You can see the framing and the tubing here, but it has this Porsche body paneling that is added on and is branded in that way. So they have that going on, as well. So um, those are some of the interesting things there. One of the other interesting things is we went over to the Fanatec area. Is they had a partnership with TrackTitan, and what TrackTitan did was they loaded up all the data from the Miami race, and they loaded it into their system, looked at the braking smoothness, the throttle, braking zones and stuff, and so what they did was they said, okay, if you take a couple laps on their simulator, they'll tell you who you drive mostly like. And for myself, um, I got Alex Albon 85% match. So that was that was fun and that was interesting. But it wasn't an F1 track. It was a Atlanta road track, and so they just you had to drive that, and then it compared your braking zones, your smoothness, and stuff to that. So interesting, but I wish it was an F1, more of an F1 track that it was that was used to do that. Um, as I walked around, I also saw other rigs. Um, there's this Simex Pro rig for 350, a little bit less expensive, but just checking out different things for um, for my friends who are looking for rigs. So I am going to now start with some of the interesting rigs that I liked or caught my, or just things that I liked. So one of the first, oops, this is kind of loud. Let me, well, you saw the video. Let me bring that up again. So the cool thing was that this was a racing spa. I'll just put it on loop. And what they had was it's like this tent with that's a 270-degree tent with screens, and it has, you can see there's three projectors that are projecting the image on the screen, and then this cockpit, it has a motorized seat that brings you forward and backwards, and basically it's tuned to take you through the different tracks. And that was, as you can see on the side here, some of the prices. This was, I got to drive this. It was pretty interesting. One thing it didn't have is motion, so it was, I don't know if I noticed it as much, but anyway, $21,000 just for the projection item. The cockpit was $1,000, and then there's their wheel and pedals and direct drive system. But the cockpit and the tent itself is like, you know, $31,000. So that's one of the first things I was able to try, and I realized, like, okay, it was cool, but then when I started to go and look at some of the other things, it was not as interesting. Let's see if I can go to what's next. So I would say here is the DOF Reality degrees of reality rigs. I think we've seen them a lot on the internet and stuff, but so I mean these were nice. It was a little bit, you know, janky. I guess I would say, but you did get a lot of the degrees of freedom, you know, um, and a lot of the movement. I am always nervous about putting my monitor on something that moves. It just, I don't know if it just needs to be locked down a little bit more securely. I'm just afraid that it'll just fall off. But that was interesting. I would say I also, so when I went to the SimMagic area, let me pause this. Let me get the photo app back up. This way, hopefully it's easier. There we go. So here's SimMagic's new Zeus line, and you know, um, I was looking at one other wheel that I will take time to highlight later, um, but I was also looking at this SimMagic Formula wheel, and so one of the things that I wanted to make sure of when I with my Fanatec, I realized that the encoders, like the little spinners on my wheel, they're just too loose, and so when I'm trying to increase something, it just goes two, three, four, five, and it's not like stiff enough. So I was always testing, you see these orange encoders where you can, roll them left and right. So I was testing those to just sort of make sure that the feel, it wasn't too loose. It's almost like clicking, so you can get that precision. But what's one of these interesting things is this display here. And so what they have is it's modular. So if you take this display and you get another wheel, you don't have to get a wheel with a display. This same display, you can buy the wheel without the display, and it just shifts over. You just snap it on, and across all the different wheels. Now, also, if you don't have a SimMagic wheel, you can actually connect this with like it sort of stands up on your existing wheelbase. There's a magnetic little harness, and then you're able to just uh, it'll just connect. You can use the display independent of the wheel. So the wheel was interesting, and I wanted to make sure to try it out. So I ended up trying it out on um, the SimMagic booth. They also had like 6 simulators with all their equipment on it. So we were able to try different wheels, the wheelbases, and get a feel for everything. So let me pull that video up. So I was able to drive this particular rig. It had you can't see it. That's not me per se, but I was able to try the wheel in the motion on the motion rig. Now it's interesting. Like the motion is not too subtle, but it's not too like aggressive, right? So it's sort of like what you would imagine in your mind, but that was a nice, it was nice. What you had to do for a lot of these things is that they had a sign up thing on your phone where you scanned a QR code, you signed up, and then basically they pinged you when it was like your turn to get on the sim and try it out and drive. It was also cool. You can see in the lower corner here, they had little gift bags for everybody who came by, and it was mostly like advertisements, and then there was like a fold out like banner, thing. So that was interesting. I'm gonna go to some of the more crazy rigs before I get to the more of the things that I really liked. So let me show you this Apex rig. So this Apex rig, I mean, it looks nuts. But the thing is that these rigs were part of a Skip Barber like driving school thing. You basically had to have a certain like sim racing license. You had to have some kind of like license to be able to even get into this thing. I mean, this thing looks nuts. I didn't even know how much. I didn't find out how much it costs. You can see. I think these are the LG curve monitor OLED curve monitors, but it was kind of nuts. So this is another rig that I was actually able to ride in this rig. This was crazy. So this is a $45,000 rig. It looks like Ed 209 from RoboCop, but this was Laguna Seca, and I wish I had a video of it. But basically, when you get to that corkscrew, it actually really dips down like almost like 30 degrees. Um, with all these actuators on the side, you had to like it would come down, then you have to like step in, get buckled in, and then yeah, you can see it's a little bit crazy. What I noticed though is that even though like when I saw other videos of it like really dipping, I I don't know if I really felt like it was that extreme, but it looks extreme. So what I found out also is that these belts, obviously they're just hooked to the back of the rig, and so when it goes in dips, you actually feel like the belts tighten around your shoulders. And what I found out is that some of the other rigs they simulate that by actually having what's called belt tensioners that actually pull down on the seat belts, so it simulates that sensation. And I realized that, man, it feels about the same. So that's interesting. This rig 45K. So really, so that's really interesting. Let me see if I have some. I have some still pictures. I think of. of this rig. Where's it? Terra. Yeah. So you're up pretty high on this platform. These springs come all the way down, and then you still have to step into it and stuff like that. But that that was um, kind of nuts. Let me show you when I went to the Podium 1 area. There's a Podium 1 rig. Now, I didn't get a chance to ride in one of these. So I don't know what it feels like. I don't know what the cost is for that either, but I do have a video of somebody riding in it. So let me bring up the video player. So here again, it has like these little actuators, right? So that's controlling the bumping, up and down. Regular seat belts. So that was interesting. So this is by Podium 1. They also had this other rig, which in a sense is like the Tara rig, but this is crazy. But you can see here, um, this moves forward and back. I don't know how if it pitches down as much, but they have the belt. This is the belt tensioner, active belt tensioner. So it will pull down on one side or both, depending on like the G forces and how you're turning. So this was a little bit crazy. I didn't get to ride this. I felt like it's not something I'd ever pull into my house and stuff, but that was something else. Let me show you this other. This is more like taking the Conspit um, concept and you know going a little bit extra on it. So these are LED panels. It was a huge panel. They put a rig in front of it, but what the difference is with the Conspit is that this has motion. You can tell it's moving. It's got motion to simulate going, but yeah, this was a little bit nuts, right? All right, so let me show you then also, you know, this is a DDX rig. I think this is 85,000. It's a little bit more compact. It's all built together with SimiCube. It's tuned to SimiCube. Um, I think they have base shakers here. They've got a lot, six of these um, actuators to move the rig around. I didn't get a chance to drive this, but um, there was also one where it was like rally and it was like moving around so much. I felt like, oh man, I don't want to climb into something because I feel like I'll get thrown out of it. So those are some of the more crazy rigs. So uh, now what I'm gonna show you next is the one rig that I felt like, wow, this is great, and um, let me tell you. So this is the Vero Legend. So what it has, you can see here, it actually not just has the actuators that move you pitch forward and roll and stuff like that, but it has this platform that shifts left and right, to get that sway. And then it has like the belt tensioners. I felt this was the best one, honestly. And I found out that this system is about 18,000, like with everything, like the seat, I think the seat, the wheel, it's like turnkey, everything 18,000. Or you can always add on the different pieces to your current rig. But this, like, it felt amazing because when I took the right turn and I lost the rear and it slid like the bottom of the platform like slid to the left and I actually felt it in my butt, but at the same time like the belt tensioners also tensioned the other, you know, belt as well to have to make me feel like yeah, to feel those G forces per se, I guess. So um I felt like, you know, and you can see this is a smaller footprint than something like that Tara, which was, you know, one 45K and then two a little bit like crazy. But yeah, no, I really like this. I looked into Vero and the owners, like the creators of it, they're like, you know, super engaging, super nice as well. But um yeah, this was this was the one that really stuck out to me out of all of them. Super smooth, felt really felt really good. Um, kind of amazing, honestly. So I'll let you look at that for a little bit while I go to another folder here. Let me show you something a little bit gimmicky that was sort of interesting. Well, I don't know if it's gimmicky, but this is the TRZ bike simulator um, that Track Racer created. So I remember a friend, he, you know, had a motorcycle and got married, and then when they had a kid, his the wife was like, "You have to sell the motorcycle," and he was not happy about that, right? But it makes sense because motorcycles are dangerous. Uh, it's more the people around you than the, you know, than the bike it's, you know, than the bike itself. So what's interesting here is that, you know, it's, you can sit on the bike but then it sways left and right. You can see the three springs here that keep it that bring it back, you know, to center. There is a base shaker here to bring vibration to the bike. There was VR glasses, and what they had here also was a wind simulator. So as you rode the bike, the faster you went, the more it like threw wind in your face. So, you know, here is the bike. Let's see if there's, yeah, he's not leaning as much, but you can see from his hair like the air is blowing against him. All right, then there's a lean, you know, and on the handlebars there's the throttle and brake. We can see that. Oops, close this. Oh yeah, I can go here. So, you know, there's buttons for the different things, but then there's a the throttle and brake um handlebars and stuff like that. You know, the crazy thing this is that this is only $2,000. I think that's crazy. I think that that's wild. It's only 2,000. You know, I mean, I guess only $2,000, but you know, you figure that it'd be more, um, but yeah, $2,000. I don't know. Might be interesting for bike riders. All right. So a couple things that I found that was interesting. Now, so this is back to things that, you know, I would be more, so those are some of the more crazy things, but now it's all right. So let's look at a couple things that now it's not wanting to do this for me. All right. So here what I found as I was walking around was I found a TRX. So I have a TRX, and it has this motion platform. The motion platform, and then attached to the motion platform is actually the Vero motion actuators. And so I was thinking, oh wow, uh, this is something that I could consider. So I, you know, because I would have to get the motion platform, and then I'd have to get the Vero actuators and add it on. But so let's take a look at this. This looks like this video, right? So this one I think has 3 inch, a 3 inch pull, but when I was driving it, it was really engaging. I really liked it. I liked the look and feel of it. Now I rode this before I did the Vero, and if I had to start from scratch, I'd probably just go with the Vero. But this was an interesting drive, and to be able to do this, and I was like, okay, I got a good feel for it. But the thing with the track racers is a lot of the track racer, I mean, the D-box, right? D-box is what is generally advertised to go with this, right? So a I found a rig, a TRA rig. If I can just, oh, I'll come back to that in a sec. So I found a TRA rig that had the D-box actuators on it. Now, this is a 1.5-inch travel uh, actuator, and I rode it, and I felt like when I hit the brake, it didn't throw me forward as much as I would expect. It was just kind of subtle. So then I was like, this is not really. One of the things I came away with was that the 1.5-inch D box was not worth it. I don't think, compared to the relative cost and value that the other things, the other versions could bring. Now, D-Box also just released a 3-inch travel actuators. I did get a chance to try that on another rig, and I thought that was pretty good. It was better, but it was definitely because I think D-Box just put these on sale for if you get 4 of these for like 5,000. Before it was like you get 4 for 8,000, but now that they put out their 3-inch travel actuators, those are now 8,000. These are 5,000, but I would not. Uh, After riding the different simulators, I would not do. I would probably skip by this. So, um, yeah, I really thought I'm really thinking about that TRX with the Vero. So here's the other. Oops. Before I get to this, so this is the other thing that I was really looking at. It's actually one of the reasons why I decided to drive 7 hours, because I wanted to get my hands on this wheel, just to get the feel for it, get the feel for. This is a replica Alpine wheel that's created by Track Racer. Let me try to look up really quick the you know um, pictures of the real wheel, steering wheel. Right. So we can see this is like the real wheel, right? So we can see the encoders here, these buttons, and then the paddle shifters, etc., etc. So now we go to you know I guess I can try to make it side by side. Whoa, what happened there? I'll make it smaller, and we can sort of see it's somewhat side by side. Right, so there we have pit, B, brake balance, and okay. You you can see even the molding is the same, right? And they've got like the encoders, these encoders, screen, you know, look at this fail type, fail B, clutch mode. So very they try to make it a replica, as close as a replica as possible. The encoders are good in the sense that they don't you know go crazy. Um, and what we found out was, so I talked to them, and there's a couple things I found out. I found out, obviously they tried to make it as realistic as possible. The part number for this molding and the buttons are the same as the real wheel. And these buttons are sort of, they're not like the standard, controller buttons and stuff. So there's a certain, push and feel to them that don't feel like just a regular wheel. So this was really interesting. Let me go to the video. Let me turn the volume down. Turn the volume down, and you can sort of see. So the only reason why that middle button moves around is because they needed a funky switch, to be able to push the things around. So, this is the back of it. You've got like the paddle shifters. What was interesting is that I felt it was kind of light, but they said that I'll get to it in a little bit. But then these are like the clutch panels, and the it's molded to the fingers. Um, they said that this was molded to like Fernando Alonso's fingers. But one of the things I thought is like I felt it was a little bit light. The the shifters, but what I found out is that basically that's the way they've had this in Paul Aaron's hands. They've had it in Pierre Gasly's hands to give feedback on, is the feel right? Is the distance of, even down to like, the distance of when they shift, how far it goes. They said that they found out that it was about another, 5 millimeters. They said like it should be about 5 millimeters shorter, so they're gonna go in and make those changes. This was a wheel that's supposed to be released in 2025, and then June of 2026. Now they're looking at November, and I think it's because they're trying to get all the all the things right. Right now, this wheel's gonna cost $2,000. Um, you compare that to that SimMagic wheel, that's probably it's $699. And it's like, oh man, do I want the realism? Do I want the replica-ness to just go with the rest of my Alpine, rig? But is it actually, I wish this was actually connected to a rig that we could actually drive, so I could, get the feel for it um while driving. But it's hefty. It's very light. You kind of feel like there's certain parts where it's like, wow, it feels a little bit, I don't want to say flimsy, but very, you know, very light. And you think about it, that's probably what is needed in an F1 car, right? Because they don't want all this any extra weight. So that was this is one of the I spent probably an hour and a half just holding this wheel, getting a feel for it, touching all the buttons, talking to the track racer representatives about what the plans were. They were just telling me about all the features, the history, of the wheel, um, and such. So excited to sort of see the development of how this develops. Now, what's interesting is that it's supposed to come out in November, so I'm wondering, do I just wait until the next Sim Racing Expo, which is going to be next May in Charlotte again, and maybe they'll have it connected to something. And do I just sort of wait until then and then try it out and then just make a decision then? But um, it was interesting to go and to try out the the different wheels, um, look at the different rigs, get a feel for motion, um, and then try the SimMagic stuff too. So that was sort of interesting. I really liked how that felt and stuff, especially since I have this recently got the SimMagic pedals, which I really really like a lot. So in any event, that is all the things um that's all the videos and pictures and stuff that I have from the Sim Racing Expo. Sorry, my mouse is not working well here. There we go. I don't know what this is. $39 for. This is a picture. It's $39 for the picture. So, um, so yeah, and I drove back. I didn't stay for Sunday. You had the option actually of buying this, golden ticket, which gave you actually access to the Charlotte race. There was a race that weekend, the Coca-Cola 600. It was marred, a little bit. There was a bunch of NASCAR people who were supposed to come and speak on the main stage. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of the main stage, stuff, but yeah, a lot of it was over overshadowed by um Kyle Busch's passing. So that was difficult. But in any event, NASCAR Hall of Fame is right next to the area. But that was it was a fun time. I definitely was glad I went. Um, but yeah. So in any event, I hope it was insightful and yep. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.